Hello everyone. This is the first video in a series of videos that I'm going to continually upload and include throughout the rest of the quarter. Much of what I decide to do the videos on is specific elements or aspects of writing that you requested to know more about, videos that you thought would be helpful. One of the particularly common topics that kept coming up when I had asked for some feedback was that you would like to know more about essay structure. So this particular video is going to be discussing briefly the structure of a college essay or of academic essays. Now, one of the first things that I'm going to tell you, there is not a set structure. There is no formula for writing a strong essay. There is lots of ways to write a strong essay. No single formula is always going to work every time. There is, however, going to be some expectations about things that you include in an essay. So one of those first expectations is that you do have some sort of central idea or a thesis statement that holds your whole essay together. And your thesis statement is typically a stance or a claim in response to something that is arguable. Now, once you have that thesis, the second expectation is that your reader is going to want you to prove it, to illustrate what you mean, to describe it, to provide evidence. Each main idea that you have should have its own paragraph and support your thesis statement. Then within those paragraphs, you will provide specific types of evidence to illustrate whatever ideas that you have. That evidence could be anything from examples to research to statistics to interviews to pop culture, things like pulling from song lyrics or a TV show. Lots of options. It's not limited to just one type of evidence. Don't confuse the term evidence with things like statistics. Evidence does not have to be facts. There's lots of different types of evidence out there. So your reader is going to expect that you do have some evidence to back up your ideas, and again, those ideas will then in turn support your thesis statement. When it comes to the overall purpose of your essay, that should be clear to your reader. By the end of your essay, your audience is going to want to know what they're supposed to do with all that information that you provided in your essay. Is there something they are supposed to learn? Is it some action that I need to take? Is it that you feel that people need to, I don't know, send out particular letter or demonstrate, or right, do I need to teach something differently? There is always something that you want your audience to do with that information, and that should be clear to them. How you get all of that across, the actual specific layout and structure, that's up to you to individually decide what will work best for your audience. Now, it is important to remember in academic writing that it is all about the audience. It is not about you as the individual anymore. It's about how are you going to reach your readers, your audience. And college audiences are typically referred to as academic audiences. So that is one of the big keys to remember and to think about when you are mapping out or designing your essay, is what ideas, what main points are going to be relevant and most important for your audience. Your audience is going to want you to address ideas and concerns that they have. So just to give you an example, if I was a student here on campus and I was going to write an essay about the problems of parking, okay, for any of you that have actually visited our campus, you know that parking is an issue. So I'm going to do this essay about parking and how to address the parking issue. If I am writing that essay towards college administrators, they're concerned more about the business end of things. So in other words, how are they going to financially do whatever change? Maybe it's build a parking structure, maybe it's charge students a fee, but they're going to want to know the business end of it. That is their concern, right? They're concerned with running the college. Now, if I was writing that same essay towards students and students were going to be my audience, well, I'm sure you know, there's going to be very different concerns. Concerns about costs, right? Increased student fees. Will it actually work? Will it be safe? Those are concerns that students may have. That's very different from the business side of things. So it's really important to consider your audience's values and beliefs. What matters to them? as your book, They Say, I Say, will also address, you have to consider those people that don't agree with you and try and address that, right? Don't ignore it, but consider them. The more you consider the different perspectives and sides to your argument, the more you'll be able to show that your angle or your stance is credible, authentic, and logical, which that's your goal, right? You want to come across as knowledgeable and informative and considerate when it comes to writing your essay. Now, again, I know you would love for me to be able to say you must put a thesis here, it must be this long, and it must sound like this. But it just is not that simple. Writing is much more complex, and it's more about individual style and voice. And again, using your own style and voice to reach your audience. Those are the goals. Now, a couple of things to consider when you're doing this is really consider the idea of what your audience needs to know and how you're going to provide or prove that information to them. That's what you want to focus on. So when you're considering things about the order of your ideas, where do you put what where? Well, what's going to make sense to your reader? That's where it should go. And again, what makes sense may change depending on your specific audience, okay? As far as ways to really think through your structure, that's where those early planning stages are really important. Make yourself a really detailed map or web. Make yourself an outline that is very detailed. I know I require that you turn in a skeleton outline, but you can do more than that. Do whatever it takes to help you really figure out the best way to organize your ideas. And if you're not sure, then that is where reaching out to the instructor and or the writing center, or even on the discussion board where we post our outlines to your fellow students, that can be a great place to get help with that. But that's really what you want to do is consider during the planning stage of writing what the essay structure should be and what structure will work best for your readers. Again, I would love to be able to say that there is some formula you can use in writing, but writing isn't math. It's an art. And because it's an art, it lends itself to lots of different possibilities in creating a really strong essay. All right, so hopefully this helped kind of address some of those questions. I know some people really want an essay, like a really firm essay structure, but again, it's not that simple. It's more about having that overall idea, central thesis that is going to hold everything together. All of your main ideas should come into play. They should all be tied to your thesis, and you're going to have to support all of those ideas. Now, again, if you have any questions about this, always feel free to reach out to me for additional support or help. I do want to read you this short excerpt that I took, and it's actually from the Harvard Writing Center is where this came from. And it was their explanation of essay structure, and I thought it was a really good way to consider basically what I've been telling you. And this is their definition. And it basically says that writing an academic essay means fashioning a coherent set of ideas into an argument. Because essays are essentially linear, they offer one idea at a time. They must present their ideas in the order that makes most sense to the reader. Successfully structuring an essay means attending to a reader's logic. The focus of such an essay predicts its structure. It dictates the information readers need to know and the order in which they need to receive it. Thus, your essay structure is necessarily unique to the main claim you're making. Although there are guidelines for constructing certain classic essay types, there is no set formula. So I just really wanted to emphasize that aspect of it. Now, there are lots of different moves that you can make within an essay to help reach out to your reader, and that is all about what the book They Say, I Say is teaching you, is different moves that you can make within your writing to really be considerate of your audience and get your points across. When it breaks down to the most basics of it, a strong essay is a clear, well thought through essay. That's what it comes down to. It seems so simplistic, but again, that's kind of the idea. It's how do you get your ideas clearly to your reader?